Hey guys, Jess here from Knockout Print Shop, and today I have for you my October 2020 goal reflection, November 2020 goal setting video. So if you listened to last month's goal video where I was rambling about needing to reset my goals again, this is essentially the update. I'm sure it'll be rambly. So those of you that commented that you enjoy my rambles, I appreciate it, because sometimes I just feel like I'm going on and not really saying much. So thanks for the feedback on that. So those of you that do like the rambles, this is going to be rambly. So basically what I want to do is go through really quickly my mini reflection on how I did with October's goals in the midst of all my, I don't know what I'm doing with my goal setting situation, and talk to you about how I'm doing November. So essentially what I think I was saying last month was that I'm feeling there's a shift in kind of how I'm using my time, where my focus is, all of that. And this idea that when you are setting goals, that some goals are going to be your easier, Makse Life calls them maintenance goals, or things that are take less mental capacity, energy, effort. One of our customers, Amy, in our Facebook group, if you're not in our VIP Facebook group, join that. She pointed out a really interesting deduction she had from my video talking about this idea on a continuum or a matrix, so to speak, of using, I'm not going to remember this correctly, but she was saying it's interesting to look at your goals from the focus of how familiar you are with the thing that the endeavor you're approaching, and how much mental energy it'll take. So why I'm saying that is what I've realized is that with the shift in my life, her deduction was really spot on, because there are certain things in my life that are very new and unfamiliar territory to me, and things that take a lot of mental energy. So I have to be mindful of that when I'm setting goals or paying attention to other areas. Another one of our customers, Barb, pointed out this concept she uses of kind of like the big three, that we're kind of always focused on like three main areas of our life that are taking up the most time, or that's where most of our priorities, values, attention, things like that go. So I've got a lot of great feedback from those of you that watch the videos and interact on our Facebook group, and it kind of helped me get more clear on my situation. So here's the deal. Like I said in the beginning of the year with using the Makse Life, and what I've always said with Inkwell Press, is sometimes when I look at my area life compartmentalized in so many different areas, it doesn't always work for me, because I have a lot of overlap, and I feel like sometimes looking at all these areas, seeing all this blank space, makes me a little bit neurotic and think I have to fill everything in, and in reality, A, I don't have to do that, and B, certain things just essentially are A, more important to you, and B, just take more mental energy and are more unfamiliar, so they're going to be more taxing, require more effort, fill up some of your capacity, right? So hopefully all of that mixed together, mumbo jumbo, makes sense. But what I had deducted was that I need to stop worrying about fitting myself into this system and just make parts of the system that works for me work for me. So last month I did set some goals here in my October monthly goals sheet section, whatever you want to call it. And actually a lot of these things changed throughout the month, because I preemptively set this thinking I'm just going to automatically put in the things I always put in, but then I had that oh my God, I need to reset, my life is changing and I can't do all the things. So there was a lot of things in personal, my podcast, my weekly vlog, that I ended up just putting on hold and stopping, because you can't just keep adding and adding and adding things and think all of a sudden you just get granted more time and energy and capacity. You don't. So you have to assess as you go along what's important and what shifts you need to make. So I stopped the podcast, I stopped the vlog, I actually even stopped posting on my personal social media, Instagram, because it was more based on, my post was more based on kind of building my podcast, and I was like, I don't really care about Instagram, I'll just post when I want to, when I find it's enjoyable, and when I want to share something that is going on in my life. And then, so the one thing I did do is continue to declutter my social media, deleting Facebook groups I don't interact in or don't feel useful to me right now, continuing to reduce my Instagram following, and that's just been an ongoing process. I was following 6,000 people, and I'm down to 700 and something. I just need less things in my brain, in front of me, all of that. Fun and recreation. Now, like I've talked about before, I have a ton of overlap in these areas. Personal, fun and recreation, and physical environment essentially to me are the same thing. It is our homestead. It is the animals, working on our property, making our house a home. All of this stuff is fun. It fulfills personal goals, physical environment goals. So these essentially, I don't even need 3 categories. That's why sometimes when I'm putting these things down categorically, it feels a little bit much to me because they all kind of fall into the same thing. Now, the way I kind of shift that to fit this system is I keep some of the fun, like animal related stuff in fun and recreation, and then I keep kind of more of the home stuff, like organizing my desk or spreading grass seed. That would go in physical environment. But essentially, they're all homesteady things. So we got our goats. I was training the goats, prepping the garden for spring. Haven't really done that yet. We did get a worm farm. Talk about that some other time, but I love worms. And then I was going to attend the virtual Homesteaders of America conference, but I decided to do that next year. So this gets fun again, that you'll see the overlap. Work is the same stuff typically month after month. Once in a while there's little things I need to do for the print shop that are different. We had to fix the homepage image, things like that. Relationships and family is always the same. Matt and I do our weekly date, keeping up with friends. A lot of this is just organic things that I don't have to put a lot of effort into. Matt and I have been doing weekly dates for the entirety of our relationship. We do our weekly business meetings off and on. It's more probably like monthly or bi-monthly now. I do just or naturally reach out to friends or make connections with fellow homesteaders virtually. So a lot of this stuff happens without a lot of effort. So while I put the reminders here, it's not necessarily always necessary. Health and wellness is another area where it doesn't take me a lot of effort. I've been exercising consistently basically my whole adult life, and we have a meal routine and we eat, local. I don't need to put effort here. We had a little issue with lunch prep. Got a little better at that, paid attention to it. But point is there's certain areas in here that don't need a lot of attention. I don't have to fill them up just to fill them up. And that's what I was doing. Spirituality and personal growth, weekly reflection, I was already doing that, but I put it on here. Daily highlight thing, I put it on there and I did okay with it. Finances, again, these are like automated tasks. Some of these are just more checklisty. Paying our sales tax, doing our bills, escrowing my taxes, all of that's the same. There are a few outstanding tasks that need to be done, and really what I should do is keep those separate from my checklist. And then we talked about physical environment. So long story short, we're already 7 minutes in, and my point is, I think what you'll see going forward into November is I'm trying to concern myself less about filling in this space just to fill it in and really focus on what is most important to me. So that is pretty much where I left off. That the 3 things that are important to me right now is obviously our print shop and work in general with the remote work that I do. I've gotten more hours there, like you've heard me talk about before. I'm really enjoying that work and just kind of building my skills there and all of that. So that takes a big portion of my time that I didn't have filled before. The other huge thing is our homestead and learning all that comes along with that, from gardening to planting grass seed to clearing our forests. We're doing all this manually, just Matt and I, our goats, our chickens, learning about new animals, composting. There's so many new things to learn, and sometimes I forget that because I'm learning so much, there's a lot of my brain capacity taken up, focused on that, so it's hard to do all of these other areas the same way. But the good thing is, prior to now, with this big new project of the homestead, I've set the groundwork, is that the right word, or the foundation for these other major categories. I've done my work in health and wellness so that these things, eating healthy, preparing food, working out regularly, drinking water, getting enough sleep, all of that, there's a foundation there. I don't have to put effort in to do that. That is a habit that is automated. Same with financial, my budget, my bills, our finances, paying sales tax. I have systems and things in place, so I don't have to put a lot of effort into these things unless there's a thing that's a different task that needs to be done that's not in the automated realm. Same with relationships. So a lot of these things there's a foundation there so that I don't have to put a lot of effort into keeping those things running smoothly. They're in maintenance mode. I've got systems in place so they can function while I focus on these other areas like work and homestead. Okay, so that's the moral of the story. So each week I went through per usual and I put down the same things I always put down. So you can see I'm not going to go through this, it would take forever if I went through it, but you can see how I do this. Every week I'm putting down the same thing. By week 3, I got to the point where I'm like, I need to come up with just a topic, a thing that I want to focus on, a mantra, an intention, whatever the heck you want to call it. And I just highlighted that for each one. Okay, so back at it, had a little interruption. So basically in this particular week, I think it was like week 3, I went through and just picked a one thing focus in each area. So we have things like get clarity, that was the personal piece, bonding with our animals, scrubbing through the Knockout Prep website, connecting with people, working on our land, doing my usual finance stuff here, the daily highlights, enjoy training. So this kind of worked to focus on one thing, but again, I feel like I still look at this as like I have 8 things to focus on, and it feels like a lot for me. So I felt like this worked a little bit better, because I didn't have like a checklist going on here. I just had like one kind of concept, intention, whatever you want to call it, to focus on. So that went okay. You can also see here on my weeks, I intermittently I didn't really do weekly highlights until week 2 or 3. So you can see here is how I do this. I did what worked, just put down things that worked, things that didn't work, what lessons I learned, adjustments that I'm making, and gratitude. So a lot of what I put in this particular week's thing was that just going with the flow and not stressing about my planner. What else worked? Baking on Saturday and our food prep, rotating our animals, and my planner spread. Things that didn't work, not having my planner prepped this particular week. I think I didn't prep my planner until like during the week versus before. And that I was off track with my daily highlights. Lessons, stop stressing about goal setting and make it work for me. Less is more. And that's the thing. It's like, you know, when 2 years ago, I never worried about setting goals like in a planner. I would just tell myself I wanted to do something, kind of make checklists about it and do it. I didn't have this whole big system going down. So like, I think there's part of my brain that's thinking, you know, this system is great. I think it's a great, simplified, approachable system. But when you're somebody like myself that focuses on this kind of essentialism, awesome book, by the way, mindset of less but better, looking at all these areas on a regular basis can sometimes be a bit distracting. So I think as we go through this, I'll explain where we landed. But anyways, and then just some adjustments, put my planner ahead, do my daily highlights, turning my compost, and working on improving the knockout site. Okay, so you see how that worked. Then we go into the next week where I was like, okay, I'm going to write even less. I'm just going to put a word, think, train, bond with the animals, reflect, routine. This kind of worked. But again, you know, it gave me that neurotic balance of having something in each category for the weekly action steps. And I clearly did them except for my daily highlights and a few things down here, but I don't necessarily feel that this amplified my process, got me any further, things like that. I did do a reflection here, same things as before, nothing too different. Yeah, so I'm trying to think. My lesson was clear out to make room for what I want. So again, like when there's so many things, sometimes I feel like I'm not making the mental space for where I really want to go. So you have to, like, I feel like I'm in like subtraction mode or just like essentialism mode, figuring out what is important. And adjustments, focus on one print shop project and keep action steps low, only the ones I need. So those were kind of like the lessons from that particular week. And I think the next time we get to the end of the month, oh no, we have another week. So here I put one action step. So like write my new program, didn't check it off, but I did it. Weekly reflection, a few tasks. This week I went back to using it more as a to-do dashboard, and that I think worked better. So I think what I'm starting to realize as I go through this process again, as we approach the end of the year, is that this system works for me when I focus on it more as a just dashboard to-do list. Like that works really well for me versus thinking of things as goals. While these things are, even though they're more mundane daily tasks or just simple to-dos, at the end of the day, like I've said in previous videos, these weekly action steps, where I'm spending my time and things I'm doing, do relate in the end to the bigger things I want to do, goals, whatever you want to call them. So this worked better, keeping it super simple, nothing aesthetically pleasing on here. We were going just pen style. What worked that previous week was just a planner layout, having less goals. I did not do my daily highlight. And then actually I mentioned on here, my lesson was essentialism, focusing on less but better. I tried hourly planning. If you saw that video, that worked okay. I don't think I'm going to do that again, but it's good to try new things, right? Oh, and look at that, peeps. I did not even do my November reflection. Let's do it together, shall we? Because this is now turned into a long video. Biggest wins from the month. I would say my biggest wins would be rotating our animals and getting more and more comfortable with being, like animal husbandry, as you would call it in homesteading. I would say the other big win would be, I don't know if it's necessarily a win, but just something that I'm excited about is working more with the remote company that I'm working with, learning more, doing that, continuing to get more responsibility and being more involved in that organization. What other wins did I have? I didn't do my daily highlights, so that's a little bit hard to figure out. We did clear a lot of the forest, so that was good. So those would be my wins. What's working? I would say my planner spreads continue to work. Like, it works. Even when I make minor aesthetic adjustments to it, you can see I stick with a pretty similar layout each week. So that consistency does help, regardless of the colors or stickers I use. It does work. My routines are working. All of that's going well. Things that aren't working, I think, is me just stressing about the stupid goal situation. I am all for goals and achieving things you want to achieve in your life, but I think I need to stop. What was not working is me stressing about doing it in a certain way that might not work for me. Let's see, what I learned this month, we talked about that. What improvements or adjustments do I need to make? This month, you'll see I go back to using my planner and the goal system more from a to-do standpoint and all that. So that's we did it together. We did the reflection. Okay, so let's look at where we've started for November and where we're at. So I'll show you this here in a second, but this is how I approach goals for November. Started off with a blank page, didn't preemptively put too much in here other than a few things in financial that are every month things, and then kept it super, super simple. So personal was vote. Got that done. And the other thing is I put in personal here was cook one new thing. So make one new meal, cook one new thing. That is for personal. Just that's for fun for me to get back to cooking all that stuff. Matt does all the cooking. Fun and recreation, start our worm farm. So what I did is on the left was things that were going to take more effort, that were new, take more energy. On the right was more of my regular routine things that I just like to have on here as a dashboard. Give our goats their herbals every day, rotate our animals on the schedule we've been doing, so that's kind of in fun. Work has some new things. We're coming up on Black Friday, so we have to get ready for Black Friday sales and all that. There's a few things I'm doing. I also have been doing some email flow work for people and project management kind of stuff for people in their own small businesses. So I have a client right now that I'm helping her with her email, so I have to work on that. And then my regulars, weekly videos, email analytics, reports, all that good stuff. That's my usual. Weekly date nights usual. I do want to do a farm visit. That's on the left. Then this health and wellness, I didn't put any usuals. These were just, I needed to pick my 2021 healthcare plan, did that, and I'm doing no alcohol. I really don't drink. We drink maybe have one drink a week, but I've decided this month, my stomach has not been agreeing with me here and there, so that sometimes is the culprit. Just going to continue, get back to my daily highlight here. Got bills, budget, all the usual stuff. And there's a few tasks that I do need to do financially. Amend my 2018 taxes and find a new bank. So those are new things. And then home, I just got a bunch of random home-related things. So I'm just going to embrace the fact that this doesn't need to be thought out. Doesn't need to be deep, intense goals. That most of this to me is just things I need to get done, because that's just how my brain works, and that's how I get closer to the things I want to do. I don't need to be thinking too hard about these things. So what I'm doing in my monthly, to kind of a continuation of that, is I've decided to use my monthly to note daily highlights. So I'm going to put a daily highlight just in the month view and highlight it with whatever color pen or highlighter goes along with that category. And I'll probably also use this to keep track of when we rotate the animals. So that's basically what I'm going to do here in my monthly, and I'm going to use my content planner for content planning. Over here, I took our flags with the category names on it, and I'm like, I want in my month view to see the 1 or 2 things in each category that I need to do. Vote, order new chickens for next year, our Black Friday plan, weekly dates, no alcohol, daily highlight in here, those things. So these are the things that are like the different things than usual that need to get done. Probably shouldn't have put weekly date in here because that's already something that's automated, but I just wanted one thing that I needed to get done in each category here. Probably the next step off of this that would be ideal would be to take these things and maybe land them somewhere in here, which you can see that kind of happened with the vote. Okay, duh, that was election day. So that was there. You know, order chickens, once I do that, we looked them up already, I'll put that there. Once I get our Black Friday plan done, I'll put that there. So I think having this little reference point here of one thing that I want to focus on that's outside of my normal maintenance routine things, I can see it kind of manifest on my monthly actual calendar. I'm curious to see how that works. And then this is, again, just kind of like more of a checklist dashboard. This isn't really different than what I was doing the majority of this year. So I think I'm just returning back to what works and trying not to think so hard about everything else. And are these goals big enough? Am I focused? Is it all of that? So I think that's been helpful to just go back to what works, write stuff down. And then here's my first week where, again, I'm using this more as a dashboard to write down my to-dos related, some to the goals, some to annual goals, some to just life. So because I've been busier with remote work and things, I haven't invested as much time as making things all pretty and all that. It's more about function right now. So while I'm using less stickers, I do use things, you know, where they need to. But anyways, point of the story is, in an ideal world, the way I would see this is, I think for me, if I could make my perfect planner when it comes to goals, I would have a monthly goals page or a monthly dashboard. I don't know if I'd even call it goals. I don't know. That word sometimes drives me insane. But I'd have this thing of like, in whatever categories I deemed like the way I divide up the categories of my life, I'd put my to-dos. And then each week, I don't know if I'd necessarily have this as a separate page. I'd like have it here somewhere. I don't know. I'm like, my brain is going all over the place. I don't know. I need to think about that. I feel like I need to adopt the idea of the getting things done method where there's just like that inbox brain dump page. And I've been starting to work on that because I think sometimes when I try to keep everything in these nice little compartments, I forget things. So I just need to like brain dump all the things and then mark them off, which I have been doing. I've used a separate sheet of paper for that as well. Okay. You guys know how it is. We're rambling. So I think what I'm saying is in a perfect world, there would be 3 categories that I would have goals in. One would be homestead. That takes a lot of energy, mental energy, learning a lot of new things. It takes time. It's not automated. So homestead is one for us, which is, again, home. Work is the other big one for me, and that's kind of twofold. Like I said, it's the print shop as well as the other work that I'm doing, so that takes a majority of time. And the rest of the things all are kind of in maintenance automated mode. So really work and home are my 2 main categories that get most of my attention. And that really is like my capacity. That's why I had to take this personal piece that had like the podcast and the vlog and the, you know, mapped out social media posting and all of that. I had to subtract that out because when this category was going up, I can't have this category going up as well, especially when I didn't have an end goal or a why here. So I feel better about putting my kind of like personal goal of like podcasting stuff and all of that on hold while I focus on homestead and work. Now, if we flip back before we end this incredibly long video to my annual goals, and I kind of review and reflect back about how what's going on now goal-wise relates to what I originally said in January, I'm like things are aligned, right? So personal was like an intentional, sustainable lifestyle. So gardening, homesteading, permaculture, compost, all of that now that we bought the house is in motion. Like it's learning, doing, all of that. There was a few other things I had put on here, practicing piano, practicing French, decreasing screen time and Facebook limits, that these lost interest to me. It's not like I didn't achieve the goal. I just they didn't become a thing. So these aren't like fails, they're just things that didn't become relevant as the year progressed and my lifestyle changed. When we were sitting at home in our apartment and had less to do than because we didn't have a homestead like we do now, I was trying to find hobbies, things to do. My hobby now is my homestead. But I have worked on decreasing screen time, and I'm always, contending with that whole social media piece. Fun and recreation, at the beginning of the year, we didn't have the homestead, so a lot of it was like going on hikes and local adventures, and we still do that now that we've moved to our new town, and we make an intentional effort to get out into our town and hike and see things and meet people and go to coffee shops, so we still do that, so that's happening. But this is also, again, part of homesteading. This is what I've been waiting for all year, was that moment in June when we closed on our house, and all that effort, planning, learning, now can be put into action. Work and learning, I've done almost everything on this list. We have YouTube, website, podcast. I had an online fitness coaching program the first 3 months of the year until COVID hit and no one could have a gym. And then planner coaching started that. I decided against the coaching group things, done some virtual assistant stuff. Wellness planner, that still is on hold. I've got a draft of it, but I've decided, not sure if that's something I want to do. Tried Patreon, didn't like it. They had these random ideas of like collaborations and retreats. So there was a few ideas that were just like brain dump ideas, but for the most part, I've done all of this stuff, and work has shifted in a direction I hadn't anticipated with the addition of the marketing work I do. Family and relationships, friend dates, virtual friend dates, dates with Matt, all that's happened. So that's the same. Beginning of the year, I was having some health issues and was going to have a colonoscopy, but those resolved themselves. So health has been the same. It's like, and I decided against like working on really building serious strength and having like a strength goal of pressing a certain amount of weight or doing a certain amount of a lift. This is just in maintenance mode. Like, listen to your body, do your workouts, eat your food. That doesn't need much attention. I have definitely not read as much, but that's because we've been so busy on the homestead stuff. But I have been doing my highlights, which is helpful. Financial was buy the house. That was our biggest goal of the year. We did that. Now we're investing our time, money, and energy into building our homestead. Once we get that sorted out, we will move into paying off our mortgage early and getting back into retirement contributions. And then that homestead stuff is now physical environment style homestead. So you can see all of these things got done. And a lot, you can see the overlap with a lot of them. So basically, last 2 months of 2020, I feel good about the fact that I know where my attention needs to go. I don't need to get hung up on too many categories and goal systems, and I need to focus on what is most important to me. So this wasn't a very concise video, but I hope that kind of sheds light into the messiness of how goal planning can go. If it's a perfect linear straight line, chances are it's not sustainable. Like we're going to make tweaks, we're going to change things. Things are going to get messy. We might take a step back and then take steps forward. It's an evolving process. That's how goals are supposed to be. You kind of figure out what works for you. And I think I really want to drive home, no matter what, system you're using. If you're using Makse, if you're using Power Sheets, if you're using Inkwell Press, really make it work for you. And don't get too hung up on fitting yourself and your lifestyle into the system. Make the system work for you. And that's something I'm trying to embrace, that I don't need to fill in every blank. I don't need to do things by the book, right? The whole point of a system is to make it work for you. So I'm a huge proponent of essentialism, meaning I think less is more, less but better. I think people do better when they focus on small, tiny baby steps in one direction and keep moving versus dispersing their energy in different directions and making minimal progress in a lot of places. Now, I know not everybody agrees with me on that and has their different approach and likes to have a lot going on in a lot of different categories. I've just personally found in my own life and in clients' lives that when you consolidate your focus, you get further faster. So that sounds like a tagline. All right, guys, I'm going to stop because I think this is 30 minutes. So I hope that was helpful. I appreciate those of you that listen to my rambles and then share that you actually like them. You're just getting random Jess musings. That's what I should call these. Maybe that's what I'll call this series, random Jess musings or ramblings. Okay, that's it for the day. I hope you guys are doing well and have a great November, and I'll see you in the next one.